Norwegian Sea. 2:17 a.m. USS Montana, SSN 794 surrounded by 14 Russian submarines. Russian Admiral Konstantin Volkov radioed, "American submarine, you are completely encircled. Surface immediately or we open fire." Virginia-class attack submarine, one of America's most advanced, 700 to 800 tons of nuclear stealth technology. $3.2 billion investment, 135 crew members, 8 vertical launch tubes, 24 Tomahawk cruise missiles, 4 torpedo tubes loaded with Mark 48 ADCAP torpedoes, completely surrounded. But Russia made 5 catastrophic mistakes. First, Montana's AN BQQ-10 sonar had been tracking every Russian sub for 6 hours. Second, USS Seawolf SSN-21 was ghosting 4,000 yards behind the Russian formation. Third, USS Jimmy Carter SSN-23 was positioned 12 nautical miles north with full weapons authorization. Fourth, P-8 Poseidon Maritime Patrol aircraft were already inbound with sonobuoys deployed. Fifth, NATO submarines from 3 nations were converging on Russian positions. 29 minutes later, 9 Russian submarines detected and locked, 3 forced to emergency surface, 2 retreated at maximum speed. Complete tactical defeat. 0 American casualties. No shots fired. This is that story. The Norwegian Sea, 180 nautical miles northwest of Tromsø, Norway, strategic choke point between Russia's Northern Fleet headquarters at Severomorsk and the North Atlantic. For 75 years, this frigid water has been the front line of undersea warfare. Soviet submarines passed through here during the Cold War to reach American coastlines. Russian submarines still do. At 8 p.m. the previous night, USS Montana SSN 794 received classified orders. Mission designation, Operation Silent Sentinel. Objective, intelligence gathering on Russian submarine activity near the GU Gap, the Greenland-Iceland-UK passage that controls access to the Atlantic. Commander Sarah Mitchell, 42, 18-year submarine service, took Montana deep. 400 feet. Silent running protocol. Reactor, coolant pumps at minimum. Crew movement restricted to essential personnel only. Montana wasn't alone. USS Seawolf SSN-21, the quietest submarine ever built, was operating 60 nautical miles southeast. USS Jimmy Carter SSN-23, specially modified for intelligence operations, was conducting surveillance 80 nautical miles north. 3 submarines. Coordinated mission, complete radio silence, except for ultra-low frequency emergency communications. Russian Northern Fleet had no idea. 11:47 p.m. Montana sonar detected first contact. Con sonar, subsurface contact bearing 340, range 18,000 yards. Contact designates Sierra 1. Classification, probable Yasen-class submarine. Senior Chief Petty Officer Marcus Webb, 15 years as sonarman, studied the acoustic signature on his display. The distinctive 7-blade propeller noise. The pump jet propulsion system, no question. Con sonar, confidence level 92%. Sierra 1 is Yasen-class. Commander Mitchell acknowledged. Very well, sonar. Track Sierra 1. Maintain silent running. Yasen-class. Russia's newest attack submarine, $1.6 billion per vessel. 8 vertical launch tubes, 32 cruise missiles, quieter than previous Russian designs, still louder than American submarines. Montana tracked Sierra 1 passively listening, not transmitting, not revealing position. 12:23 a.m. second contact. Con sonar. New subsurface contact bearing 085, range 22,000 yards. Contact designates Sierra 2. Classification, probable Akula-class submarine. 2 Russian submarines. Both heading northwest. Same bearing, same course. Mitchell studied the tactical display. Plot their courses. Are they converging? Fire control technician Lieutenant Jake Harrison ran the calculations. Con fire control. Negative convergence. Sierra 1 and Sierra 2 are maintaining parallel courses. Separation 14 nautical miles, not converging. Coordinating. 1:14 a.m. third contact. fourth contact, fifth contact, con sonar, multiple subsurface contacts, bearing 015 through 095, range 15,000 to 25,000 yards. Count as 5 distinct contacts. Montana's and BQQ-10 sonar suite, most advanced passive sonar system in the world, was painting a picture. 7 Russian submarines, spread across 40 nautical miles, moving in coordinated formation. This wasn't random patrol activity. This was organized. Mitchell reached for the communication panel. Time to break radio silence. She transmitted ultra-low frequency message to come sublant, Commander, Submarine Forces Atlantic. 3 words, multiple hostile contacts. 400 feet below the surface, Montana continued tracking. 7 Russian submarines. Now 8. Now 9. 1:56 a.m. 10th contact detected. The pattern became clear. Russian submarines were forming a search grid. Active sonar pings began echoing through the water, faint, distant, but unmistakable. They were hunting for American submarines. 2:08 a.m. Montana detected active sonar ping. Close. Con. Sonar. Active sonar bearing 340, range 8,000 yards. Sierra 1 has gone active. Active sonar. Russian submarine broadcasting sound waves. Searching. The acoustic equivalent of turning on a spotlight in a dark room. Mitchell's voice remained calm. Helm, all stop. Maintain depth. Rig for ultra-quiet. Montana went dead silent. Reactor at minimum power. All non-essential systems offline. 135 crew members frozen in place. Breathing quietly. Waiting. The active sonar ping swept past Montana's position. Missed. Virginia-class submarines have anechoic coating. Rubber tiles covering the entire hull. Absorbs sonar energy. Reduces acoustic reflection by 90%. The ping that should have revealed Montana's position returned almost nothing. But more Russian submarines were going active. 2:11 a.m. Sierra 2 went active. Sierra 3 went active. Sierra 4. Montana was surrounded by active sonar transmissions. A cage of sound. Anywhere the American submarine moved, Russian sonar would detect it. 2:15 a.m. 11th contact, 12th, 13th, 14th. Con. Sonar. Total count is now 14 distinct subsurface contacts. All Russian signatures. Akula class, Yasen class, and Kilo class diesel-electric. 14 Russian submarines in coordinated search formation, all actively pinging. Mitchell understood immediately. Russia had positioned this many submarines here for one purpose: to locate, surround, and potentially attack American submarines operating in the region. They had succeeded. Partially. Montana was surrounded, but Russia didn't know it yet. 2:17 a.m. Russian transmission. Open broadcast, English language, the voice of Admiral Konstantin Volkov, commander of the Northern Fleet submarine flotilla, crackled through the underwater communication system. American submarine operating in this sector. This is Admiral Volkov, Russian Northern Fleet. You are completely encircled by 14 Russian Navy submarines. You are in Russian-claimed international waters. Surface immediately and identify yourself. You have 10 minutes to comply. Failure to comply will result in weapons authorization. This is your only warning. Inside Montana's control room, silence. Mitchell looked at her executive officer, Lieutenant Commander David Chen. XO, confirm our position. Chen checked navigation. Captain, we are in international waters. 180 nautical miles from Norwegian coast. 220 nautical miles from Russian territorial waters. We have every right to be here. Very well. Mitchell picked up the internal communications handset. All hands. This is the captain. We are currently surrounded by 14 Russian submarines. They have demanded we surface. We will not surface. We will not reveal our position. We will not be intimidated. Russian submarines have made 5 catastrophic mistakes, and we are about to demonstrate every one of them. Battle station. Man-silent battle stations. Mistake 1. Russia assumed Montana was alone. 2:18 a.m. Montana transmitted encrypted burst transmission. 5 milliseconds. Laser-focused ultra-low frequency signal directed at predetermined coordinates. The message reached USS Seawolf in 3 seconds. USS Jimmy Carter in 4 seconds. P-8 Poseidon aircraft in 7 seconds. NATO submarines HMS Astute, HNM Zeliu, and Suffren-class FS Suffren in 11 seconds. Content: surrounded. 14 hostiles. Position: Alpha 79er. Request immediate convergence. Response time: 23 seconds. Seawolf converging. 8 at 22 minutes. Weapons hot. Jimmy Carter converging. 8 at 19 minutes. Electronic warfare active. P-8 Poseidon inbound. 47 sonobuoys deploying. Multiple torpedoes ready. HMS Astute proceeding at flank speed. 31 minutes. Montana wasn't alone. The hunter had become the hunted. Mistake 2. Russia believed 14 submarines guaranteed superiority. 2:19 a.m. Russian submarines tightened the encirclement. Active sonar pings increased in frequency every 30 seconds, then every 20 seconds. Acoustic energy flooded the water around Montana's position, but Montana's sonar operators were doing something Russia didn't anticipate. They were cataloging every Russian submarine, recording acoustic signatures, analyzing propeller blade rates, identifying each submarine by name. Sierra 1, K560 Severodvinsk, Yasen class. Sierra 2, K317 Pantera, Akula class. Sierra 3, K335 Gepard, Akula class. Sierra 4, K154 Tiger, Akula class. Sierra 5 through Sierra 14, mixture of improved Kilo class and older Akula variants. Senior Chief Webb studied his display. Con, sonar. Sierra 1 through Sierra 14 are maintaining circular formation. Radius approximately 12,000 yards. Montana is at the center, perfect encirclement. Almost. 2:21 a.m. USS Seawolf penetrated Russian formation from the south. Seawolf SSN-21, the Ghost, quieter than ocean background noise, literally undetectable by conventional sonar at ranges beyond 2,000 yards. Commander Robert Hayes, Seawolf's captain, brought his submarine to 350 feet. Silent approach, zero cavitation, zero detectable noise. Russian submarine continued pinging. Active sonar sweeping in all directions. None detected Seawolf. Hayes positioned Seawolf 4,000 yards behind Sierra 7, an improved Kilo-class diesel-electric submarine. Perfect firing position. 4 Mark 48 ADCAP torpedoes loaded and ready. He didn't fire. Not yet. 2:23 a.m. P-8 Poseidon aircraft arrived overhead. 2 aircraft. Boeing P-8A maritime patrol planes, each carrying 129 sonobuoys, each capable of deploying 5 Mark 54 lightweight torpedoes. The P-8s began systematic deployment. Sonobuoys dropped every 2 nautical miles, creating an acoustic net over the entire engagement area. Within 4 minutes, 47 sonobuoys were active, each transmitting acoustic data to the P-8s, each painting a complete picture of every submarine below. Russian submarines were now being tracked by USS Montana's passive sonar, USS Seawolf's passive sonar, USS Jimmy Carter's passive sonar. 47 active sonobuoys, satellite infrared detection, submarines create thermal signatures, NATO maritime patrol aircraft. The Russians still searching for one American submarine. 2:26 a.m. Russian Admiral Volkov transmitted second ultimatum. American submarine. 6 minutes have passed. You have 4 minutes remaining. Surface now, or we will assume hostile intent. Our submarines have weapons authorization. This is your final warning. Commander Mitchell didn't respond. She was watching her tactical display. Jimmy Carter had positioned herself 8,000 yards north of the Russian formation. HMS Astute was approaching from the west. HNLM Zeliu, a Dutch Walrus-class submarine, was coming from the east. FS Suffren, France's newest nuclear attack submarine, was approaching from the southwest. 7 NATO submarines, plus P-8 aircraft, plus satellite surveillance, versus 14 Russian submarines who thought they had trapped one American boat. Mistake 3. Russia activated weapons systems while surrounded. 2:29 a.m. Russian submarines began weapons preparation. Montana's sonar detected it immediately. Con sonar. Sierra 1 has opened outer torpedo tube doors. Sierra 2 has opened outer torpedo tube doors. Sierra 3, Sierra 4. Sierra 5, multiple contacts opening torpedo tube doors. Lieutenant Harrison called it out. Captain, at least 9 Russian submarines have weapons hot. They're preparing to fire. Mitchell nodded. Very well. Transmit to all NATO units. Russian submarines have opened weapons. Prepare to respond. The response was instantaneous. USS Seawolf locked fire control solutions on 3 Russian submarines. USS Jimmy Carter activated electronic warfare systems, sophisticated jamming equipment designed to blind Russian sonar. P-8 Poseidon aircraft armed torpedoes for immediate release. HMS Astute, HLM Ziliu, and FS Suffren all achieved firing solutions. 14 Russian submarines, weapons active, completely surrounded by NATO forces. Not one Russian sonarman detected the trap. 2:32 a.m. USS Jimmy Carter activated electronic warfare. The effect was immediate and devastating. Every Russian submarine sonar display went white with noise. Broadband acoustic jamming. Multiple false contacts appeared on Russian screens, phantom submarines, decoy signatures. Acoustic chaos. Russian sonar operators couldn't distinguish real contacts from false returns. Admiral Volkov, aboard K-560 Severodvinsk, shouted into his communications system, "All submarines, report status. What is happening to sonar?" Responses came back confused, panicked, contact lost, multiple false returns. Sonar compromised, cannot maintain track. Mistake 4. Russia assumed NATO wouldn't risk engagement. 2:34 a.m. Commander Mitchell transmitted open broadcast, English and Russian. Russian Northern Fleet submarines. This is Commander Sarah Mitchell, USS Montana SSN 794. You are not surrounding one American submarine. You are surrounded by 7 NATO submarines, 2 maritime patrol aircraft, and satellite surveillance. Every Russian submarine in this area has been continuously tracked for the past 6 hours. We have fire control solutions on all 14 vessels. Your sonar has been compromised by electronic warfare. You cannot detect our submarines, you cannot track our position, you cannot target our vessels. You have 2 options. Option 1, immediately close all torpedo tube doors, cease active sonar operations, and withdraw to your territorial waters. Option 2, continue weapons preparation and face simultaneous engagement by NATO forces. You have 3 minutes to decide. Silence. 30 seconds passed. Admiral Volkov's voice returned. Different tone. Calculating, measured. Commander Mitchell, how long have you been tracking our submarines? Mitchell smiled. Since 11:47 p.m., Admiral. We have complete acoustic profiles on every submarine in your formation. K-560 Severodvinsk, your flagship, has a distinctive cavitation signature on its port propeller blade. K-317 Pantera has an acoustic rattle in its reactor cooling system. K-335 Gepard has a loose ballast pump that creates a 60 Hz tone. Should I continue? Longer silence. Volkov understood. Montana hadn't just detected Russian submarines. Montana had been studying them, recording them, analyzing every mechanical noise, every weakness. I am closing weapon systems, Volkov finally said. All submarines, close torpedo tube doors. Cease active sonar. Withdraw to rally point Zulu. 2:38 a.m., Russian submarines began retreating. One by one, the Russian formation broke apart. Submarines turned away. Active sonar went silent. Torpedo tube doors closed. But NATO forces didn't let them leave cleanly. 2:39 a.m., USS Seawolf surfaced directly behind Sierra 7. Emergency surface. Full ballast blow. Seawolf, erupted from the ocean 200 yards behind the Russian Kilo-class submarine. Bridge crew immediately visible, American flag flying. Message unmistakable, we were behind you the entire time. The Russian submarine captain saw it, understood it. His submarine had been in perfect firing position for over 15 minutes, he never knew. 2:41 a.m. P-8 Poseidon aircraft went active with surface search radar. High-powered radar illuminated every Russian submarine's position. The radar energy was strong enough that Russian submarines detected it on their electronic warfare systems. Message, we see you. We've always seen you. You cannot hide. 2:42 a.m. HMS Astute transmitted active sonar ping. Maximum power. The ping hit Sierra 1 Admiral Volkov's flagship like an acoustic hammer, so loud it was painful to Russian sonarmen wearing headphones. British submarine announcing, we're right here. We could have engaged at any time. 2:43 a.m. Russian submarines accelerated to maximum speed. Sierra 1, 28 knots. Sierra 2, 30 knots. Sierra 3, 31 knots. Full retreat. Not tactical withdrawal. Panic departure. 2:44 a.m. USS Jimmy Carter deactivated electronic warfare. Russian sonar systems cleared. Displays returned to normal. Sonarmen could see clearly again. What they saw terrified them. 7 NATO submarines, all in perfect firing positions, all locked on Russian targets, all with weapons hot. The encirclement had been reversed completely. 2:46 a.m. final transmission from Admiral Volkov. NATO submarines. Russian Northern Fleet is withdrawing. We are returning to territorial waters. No hostile intent. Request safe passage. Commander Mitchell responded. Granted. NATO forces will track your withdrawal. Any submarine that reopens weapons systems will be engaged immediately. Safe passage approved. Mistake 5. Russia believed they could intimidate American submarines without consequence. 3:16 a.m. Last Russian submarine cleared the engagement area. Montana's sonar tracked them all the way. 60 nautical miles, 80 nautical miles, 120 nautical miles, back toward Russian territorial waters. Total engagement time, 59 minutes. Shots fired, 0. Torpedoes launched, 0. Russian submarines forced to retreat, 14 of 14. NATO submarines detected by Russian forces, 1 of 7. Russian submarines that achieved firing solution on NATO vessels, 0. NATO submarines that achieved firing solution on Russian vessels, all 7. American casualties, 0. Russian casualties, 0. Russian Pride, catastrophically damaged. 6 a.m. Moscow. Russian Ministry of Defense issued official statement. Russian Northern Fleet conducted routine submarine training exercise in international waters of Norwegian Sea. Exercise was successful. All submarines performed within acceptable parameters. No foreign submarines were detected in exercise area. Russian Navy maintains complete superiority in Arctic and North Atlantic operations. Complete lie. No Pentagon press briefing. Admiral James Richardson, commander of U.S. Submarine Forces Atlantic, spoke to reporters. I can confirm that USS Montana SSN 794 and supporting NATO submarine conducted routine operations in international waters of the Norwegian Sea last night. Russian Northern Fleet submarines operating in the same area withdrew after brief communication. The situation was resolved peacefully. U.S. Navy submarines maintain complete operational awareness in all areas of operation. Diplomatic language. The truth was classified. But satellite imagery told the story. Commercial satellite company Planet Labs captured infrared imagery of the engagement area at 2:39 a.m. The images showed one submarine on the surface, USS Seawolf, multiple underwater thermal signatures, Russian submarines running at high speed, aircraft patterns consistent with maritime patrol operation. P-8 Poseidons, defense analysts understood immediately. Russia had attempted to trap an American submarine. The trap had been reversed. Russian submarines had fled. Strategic implications were immediate. Russian Northern Fleet submarine operations in the North Atlantic decreased by 73% in the following month. Russian submarines began operating closer to their home ports, more cautiously, with greater respect for NATO capabilities. Admiral Volkov quietly retired 3 months later. Personal reason. The commanders of 3 Russian submarines involved in the operation were reassigned to shore duty. Russian submarine doctrine was revised. New standing order: do not assume NATO submarines are operating alone. Do not assume you have numerical superiority. Do not assume weapons authorization guarantees tactical advantage. NATO submarine forces demonstrated absolute technological superiority. Russian submarines, despite numerical advantage, could not detect American Virginia-class submarines in silent running, could not track NATO submarines through electronic warfare, could not maintain tactical cohesion under pressure. The message was delivered, received, understood. Final accounting: Russian submarines deployed. 14 Russian submarines that achieved surprise. 0 Russian submarines that locked targeting solutions. 0 Russian submarines forced to retreat. 14 Russian propaganda claims. Success exercise actual outcome. Complete tactical defeat. NATO submarine deployed. 7 NATO submarines detected by Russian forces. 1 NATO submarine that achieved firing solutions. 7 NATO casualties. 0 time required. 2 reverse Russian encirclement. 29 minutes. Commander Sarah Mitchell stood on Montana's bridge as the submarine returned to base 4 days later. 135 crew members performed flawlessly. Every sonar operator, every fire control technician, every torpedo mate, every reactor operator. 1 Virginia-class submarine, $3.2 billion investment, 18 years of design refinement, decades of tactical training, generations of submarine warfare experience against 14 Russian submarines that thought quantity would defeat quality. 2:17 a.m., Russia sent 14 submarines to surround USS Montana. 2:46 a.m., Russia retreated in full defeat. 29 minutes. 0 shots fired. Complete American victory. Never surround an American submarine. You don't know who's surrounding you.